Hey guys, Cody here. I'm on day 70 of the Odin Project, and I'm going to give you an update on what I did today. I spent 3 hours on the Odin Project today working on the shopping cart project, specifically making a feature to allow users to display the cart and the items that are in their cart. So let's dive into what exactly that looks like. So we have the cart items up here, and we display the number of items in the cart with this little icon up here, and a user can click on this and actually display what is in the cart. There's nothing in the cart right now, so that's why nothing is being able to be displayed. But that's the feature that I really worked on today. So let's just see what that looks like really quickly. So I'm adding products to the cart by increasing each product's quantity. And if we go to the cart, now we can actually see product information in here that has the correct quantities for each product from the ones we added within the shop. And then finally we can hide that so that the customer, the client, the user can actually get back to the products page to the shop and add more products if they like, or decrease what products they want to put in there. And so that works, and I'll show you guys how I went about creating that today. So to start off, I made a test for actually creating the cart display, and specifically I wanted to make sure that it was rendering the appropriate product information that it was given for the component cart display. So I made a mock shopping cart up here with some data within it that will be utilized to actually render using the cart display, and then running some tests on what was actually rendered. So down here we have that cart display being rendered with the shopping cart data being given to it as a property. And then the first thing that I test for was the product boxes, and specifically making sure that they're there and that there are 4 of them. So I get all of the items that have elements that have a test ID of product box, and then I have it in this constant variable, and I use that constant variables dot length method to check that it's actually 4 product boxes that were rendered. In addition to that, another one of the first tests that I wrote was within this for loop, iterating over the length of the shopping cart and making sure that each product within the shopping cart, so the ith product within the product boxes, essentially, assuming that this test passed, was then able to have an ID that would match up with the same ith product within the shopping cart ID. So that worked out, and then I moved on to making sure that the names were correct, the quantities correct, and the costs were correct. And that's essentially what we have down here, utilizing similar things to get all for role or test ID for each one of those respectively with their elements in the HTML within the document. So I use that test to go from red to green and red to green to do test-driven development for the cart display. So let's jump into the cart display. So this is, again, ultimately what I created by using that test-driven development first approach. And it was even more simpler than this to get all the tests passing. And I'll just kind of review what I did with that. For the cart display component, the only thing that was initially passed to it was the shopping cart data, and then the overall div that was being returned within the JSX was just the displayed cart div. Within that, there was the close cart, which is this hide button up in the right-hand corner, and then the shopping cart was actually mapped over with a return for each product to have product boxes generated. So that's what we have down here. We have product box, and then within the product box we have an image, an H2 element that's equal to the name plus lexicon, the cost, and the product container, quantity container to have an input for product quantity and adjusters for the product quantity. So that was the bare bones, and that worked. It was generating the correct information. there was just not as much functionality within it. So the toggle display cart button was not actually in here. It was being utilized within the nav, where the toggle display was actually passed as a property from the route switch. And I started out by creating this function first, which takes the cart from the document that has a class name of displayed cart, and then toggles its class list of displayed, which within the CSS will actually make it appear. So the CSS initially sets it to a display of none, and then once it's toggled, then it will display it as toggled within the displayed cart element, then it will actually be visible. And so that toggle display cart function is used as an on-click event for the list item that contains the cart that's up here in the top hand corner. So that's what creates that functionality specifically. And then when we go back to the route switch, the toggle display cart was actually sent as a property to the cart display down the line through development. And when we look at that in here, that's what is being passed as an on-click function that's being executed within the close cart div. So that's up here, and that's what has this toggling effect for the displayed cart. After that, I wanted to actually get the incrementers and decrementers to work inside, just like you guys are seeing right here of the displayed cart. So I actually borrowed a lot from the product cards. So these incrementers and decrementers had click handle events, and they also had functions that were passed down from the route switch that allowed for the editing of the state of the shopping cart. And so I passed those functions also down to the cart display, and am using them here and here within the handle increase quantity and handle decrease quantity buttons, which are then assigned to the on clicks of the minus and the plus buttons respectively. And so that's how we get this functionality up here. It actually sets the state and they update accordingly. And that's pretty much it for right now. Some problems that I'm seeing is that these product cards are not updating with what's being updated within the cart. The cart you can increment and decrement successfully up here, and it will reflect with the item quantity, but then the item quantities within the shop are not correct. So I either have to make an add to cart button within here that separates out and kind of resets these product cards so that the data is still passed to the cart, but it's not, I don't have to necessarily worry about setting the state for the product card. Or I just need to have the quantities being editable within the final cart itself, which I think I might actually end up doing that. In addition to that, I need to put some on change events because these inputs up here are not currently doing anything. I just have just a dummy console log function being added to the on change event for those inputs. So I'll need to add that. In addition, I need to clean up the actual cart, make it look pretty, do some styling and some better layouts. And I also want to add the ability for the total cost by lexicon, so the quantity times the cost of each lexicon, and then a total sum of the lexicons in addition to a checkout button at the bottom. So that's all I got today. I have some things to work on for sure next week. This is all I'm going to have for this week. It's going to be, as I said last week, it's going to be a short week, so got a lot of things going on with the holidays. So I hope you guys are having a Merry Christmas and enjoying the holiday season. And hope you guys have a good New Year, and I will see you next year.